Okay, so what if your Kindle is making you a worse reader? Not because of what you're reading, but because how you're reading it. You know, most people never really touch the default settings, but hidden inside is one feature that hijacks your focus and chips away at your retention. Turning it off didn't feel like a big deal at the time, until I realized I was no longer zoning out halfway through chapters. Curious to see why, I started digging into how this small change had such a big impact. And what I found was honestly surprising. So this one small feature, something that we see every time we open our Kindles, has been linked to anxiety spikes, reduced comprehension, and even changes of how we process information. And yet, no one's talking about it. So in this video, I'll show you one small change that's backed by science that can help you focus and actually enjoy reading again. So cognitive neuroscience, Marilyn Wolf, author of Reader Come Home, argues that digital reading doesn't just change the format of how we read, it subtly changes the brain as well. In her research, she observed a shift from what we call deep reading, which is obviously deep, focused, immersive reading, to now what's called skim mode. So skim mode is fast, scattered, and driven by efficiency rather than actual understanding. So the brain starts scanning instead of reflecting, and over time it can actually impact and rewire our neural pathways, making it harder to concentrate, emphasize, and retain complex ideas. But the key insight is this shift isn't just caused by notifications or digital multitasking, it's baked into the design of these electrical reading platforms. So even features like, reading goals and highlighting, these things can trigger performance pressure, pulling you out of that experience and into a kind of subconscious speed test. So what is the key feature that is, passively aggressively nudging our brains into skim mode? It is the progress status. Whether it's a percentage completed, a page number, or even a location counter, it sits at the bottom of your Kindle screen tracking your movement throughout the book. It's always there just counting and judging us. On the surface, it does seem helpful, sometimes we like to see how much progress we've made and how far we've come through the book. But psychologically, it shifts your brain from this, immersive engagement just to task completion. Instead of getting lost in the idea or the story, you just start watching the numbers. Always constantly measuring yourself, wondering if you're behind. And that's exactly the kind of subtle cognitive shift that Marianne Wolf and other researchers are talking about. So in a study by researchers at the University of California, two groups of participants read the same digital text. So one group saw visual progress indicators while reading and the others didn't. The results shown that the group without progress tracking retained significantly more information and reported higher focus and enjoyment. And the reason was because the visual bar was subtly altering their mindset. Instead of immersing themselves into the content of the book, their attention constantly shifted to how far they had or hadn't made progress. And this constant tracking added what psychologists call cognitive load. So cognitive load is the mental cost of managing more than one thought stream at once. So reading the stories or trying to progress new information or ideas while simultaneously evaluating progress. So it's all in that extra effort that even subconsciously decreases comprehension. So to understand what's really going on, we need to look at how our brains handles information. So cognitive load theory explains that your brain can only process a limited amount of information at once. And when you're reading, most of that mental energy should go into comprehension, reading and making connections. But when there's a visual progress status, your brain just starts splitting that energy. A small part of your attention is always going to be monitoring the status, like how far have I got? Am I reading fast enough? Should I keep going? This creates like an unnecessary mental real estate. You might not consciously notice it, but it's enough to disrupt your focus and reduce your retention. And there's also something called urgency bias. So when we see a number increasing or a bar moving forward, we instinctively feel like it's a race. And the goal becomes about finishing a book and not actually absorbing the ideas in that book, which obviously results in shallow reading. You end up skipping, skimming, and you obviously just retain less. And again, this isn't a personal flaw, it's just a design feature that nudges your brain into speed instead of depth. So here's how to fix it. So on your Kindle, open any book. So tap onto the top of your screen to bring up the menu bar. Tap these little icons, like the AA icons. Now go to the More tab or look at your reading progress. You'll see a few options like page in book or time left in chapter, location, all that stuff. So I want you to select none, and then basically that's it. So now when you read, there's nothing pulling your attention away. There's no tracker, there's no countdown. It's just naked ass words. I mean, if it's bothering you that much, then you can always just turn it on, each to their own, I guess. So disabling the progress bar might seem like a small tweak, but for a lot of readers, it's a key to, unlocking deeper focus, better comprehension, and actually enjoying reading again. And if you stop here, you'll miss the bigger picture, because there's also 3 silent habits that can completely undo all of your progress. So I made a video here breaking down all of them so you don't waste hours reading and still forgetting everything. So watch this video here to protect your focus, because these habits can become permanent. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in there. Peace.